We welcome in the Bullseye UB women's soccer head coach Shawn Burke, and the only current UB coach whose team has a win over a top 10 team. Congratulations, Shawn. I'm glad we could catch up. It has this campus and athletic department buzzing what you guys were able to do to go in and beat Pitt, which was number 7 in the country. What's been the residual impact of a win like that?
A lot of people reaching out, a lot more social media followers, that's for sure. But listen, I think these, going on season 11 now, we've every year just kind of made a little bit more noise across the country. And obviously you get a signature win like this, you get a lot of people reaching out, other coaches in the college game, club coaches, recruits. Again, it helps helps spread you across the map is probably a better way to put it.
It's hard to get these opportunities for you, and then when you get it, to be able to win it like this, what does it mean to your team and to you as a coaching staff to be able to point back to this I'm sure you'll do that a lot in the next couple of months.
Listen, our objective is to be playing the NCAA tournament in November. Right, and these are the teams that you're going to face. And I think once upon a time it was just happy to be there, but that's not the case anymore. And I think you need games like Ohio State last year and Pitt this year that our girls believe. They know they can go into any matchup and they can compete. And I think that's why we schedule these games, and that's why we look for these top matchups.
What was your message to the team going into it, and what did you sense about your team's confidence that they didn't blink at the opportunity to beat a top 10 team?
I think a lot of the returning players leaned on last year. The fact that we gave them a game here at home 2-1, and then, followed that up by traveling on the road to knock off Ohio State. So the belief was there. As far as Pitt's concerned, playing them 3 years in a row, there's some familiarity there. But really, it's buy-in from the group. I think this group in particular has a lot to prove. So they're looking for every advantage they can get and every moment they can get to just kind of, in their minds, kind of pay back for last year.
After the win, was it elation that we did this, or was it a quiet confidence that we knew we could do it?
Probably a little bit of both, but listen, they celebrate, and rightfully so. Right, these opportunities don't come along all that often, and it's tough. I mean, Pitt's one of the top programs in this entire country. I think it made it to the Elite 8 last year in the NCAA tournament. So our players definitely enjoyed it, but I do think there was belief going in, and there's absolutely belief afterwards as well.
So how do you capitalize this? How much have you brought this up? How much will you or won't you continue to refer back to this as you get your team ready for other opponents?
I'm always very straightforward and honest with the group. And again, we have enough returners to know, listen, we did this last year. We knocked off a Power 4 opponent, and then we really struggled to find our identity after that. And, in our program's history, arguably had our most down year, not qualifying for the MAC tournament. And our objective is clear, where we should be playing in November, and it comes with one day at a time. Right, so I think we just use it as a reminder, be like, listen, you absolutely deserve the reward. You put the work in. You deserve to be sitting in this. But all that matters right now is Canisius on Wednesday. And if we don't have that same mentality, we're going to be in for, history's going to repeat itself, and we're not going to be pleased with that.
It sounds crazy to say that a signature win like that can sometimes be damaging a little bit, right? Because there's probably a human nature part where you're just like, hey, we just did this. The season is already a success. Are you fighting that a little bit? Do you have to think about fighting that?
I think, truth be told, yeah, I think about fighting that. But honestly, we've played a game since, it's 1-1 tie with Cornell, and we were down in that game, and we showed some resiliency and fought back. But I think looking back at that game, I don't think they were all high and mighty on themselves. I think they have a lot to prove, and they understand the task in front of them. So I think while we're mindful of it because of last season's experience, I think we also have a much more mature group to handle it this year.
All right, so you mentioned Canisius is a Wednesday game here at home, and then Colgate is a Sunday game here at home, which will also be your senior day. So there's a different kind of emotion that you're dealing with this week.
It is, and it's an early senior day for us this year, and just the way the schedule kind of worked out, we don't actually have a home game in October on Sunday, which is typically, it's usually the last Sunday home game of the year. But again, you always want to find time to recognize your seniors and everything that they've put into this program. So we'll have that opportunity after the game on Sunday to recognize all the things that they've done. There's MAC champions in that group. You want to celebrate that, and hopefully they know how they want it to end. So it's nice to wrap that up with our last non-conference home game, and then Canisius. It's a local game that they are up for every single time. We have a draw with them last year, and truth be told, we played them in the spring, and they absolutely took it to us. So I think we have a lot to prove Wednesday with the local rival.
Who are some of the players, either new or players that have been here that have started to emerge as the ones that you're really leaning and counting on this season?
I think you got to start with Liv Bizzoni, right? She is a bit of an unsung hero. She's our team captain. Doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but everything she brings from her work rate to in the locker room to off the field is irreplaceable. She's just been such a kind of had to do it last year because the other captain was injured. So she's kind of taken a lot on her shoulders, and I thought she's done a fantastic job just kind of leading this group. But then you look at Jasmine and Lex, who are both injuries coming back, and Jazz has already got a couple goals. Lexi's had her impact with the performance at Pitt. Those two have been just tremendous confidence boost for the whole team just to have them back in the lineup. And then you look at the two transfers in particular, Kelly and Fred, the maturity, the level that they come from, the professionalism that they bring. And again, I think they're a big reason why I think we're in a better place to handle the success that we've had early on, and know that job isn't done, and we still got a lot to do.
It's a new line of questioning for guys like me, and it applies to all sports, to coaches, which is how have you learned how to get transfers integrated quickly and contributing right away when they are essentially new to your program? You just mentioned, too, every sport here at UB has the same success stories. How have you had to learn that different part of coaching?
So I think there's actually two parts, I think, really, because you have the grad transfer and then just the traditional transfer. And grad transfers they're almost completely different. They've graduated undergraduate, right? They're pursuing a master's degree. Ours are 22 and 24 years old.
Right. And usually only with 1 year, too, right?
Correct. Kelly has the one fall, and then Fred, we're lucky we'll have her for 2 seasons. She had the COVID year plus a red shirt with an injury. So their experience and their maturity is a huge difference between being 24 and 18, right?
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, I think the way we've built our program is still in the traditional sense with a class of 5 to 7 players, and how do you bring in 1 to 2 transfers that can make an impact that fit with already what you're trying to do. And I think that's why we've had a lot of success with that is, we're not looking to make wholesale changes and bring 4 or 5 and bring these people in and bring those people out. It's how do we add to what we already have, and I think that's where we found the most success.
How have you figured out how to gauge when those players are going to seamlessly join your already established team core and team culture? Because I think sometimes that can be damaging if they aren't ready to slide right into that.
Yeah, one, I'll be honest, as a coaching staff, we're really confident in our team culture. And it's what we spend a lot of time in making sure, who we are and what our identity is, and that, if there's any red flags along the way, we know how detrimental that can be to the team. So I think that's a big part of the recruiting process is learning that individual that you're getting, how will they fit in with the group. But again, when you're only looking for a piece here or there, you can be really, really particular in how you go about the process. But ultimately, we have a ton of faith with those women in that locker room that whoever we bring in is going to be a really good fit.
Bonding on the road is a part of that as well, and you're going to give your team a nice long road trip to work on that. You get a chance to go out to Colorado in the next week or so for a couple of games. How'd that all come about?
Yeah, I typically once in our athletes' 4 years here, we love to do a big trip, just kind of get out of region if we can. The one before this in 2019, we were able to travel out to Oregon. And while we were out there, got to visit Nike, which was just an unreal experience. Just see a different part of the country. But again, you're trying to get your program and your name out there. You got to travel a little bit to do that. And this came about, again, just through scheduling, just a different opportunity to get out west. I think Colorado College will come back actually and travel back here next fall, so we're going to see them a couple times. But anytime we can just, like I said, get out of region. We'll have a couple off days there, so Colorado has plenty to offer. Take care of maybe a few hikes, I'm sure. in the meantime. But, just getting that experience and just listen to these players tell you all the time, some of their most fondest memories are just time together. Right? To do that outside of New York is a real privilege.
Have you looked into any impact of the altitude on your squad? I know this is always it's a cliche when we talk about pro sports teams, but in your sport, I got to think there might be some impact.
Yeah, there is. Kelly coming from Michigan State, they did that trip last year, so she'll have some valuable input. We'll work with our trainers. It's not only the trip there, but also the recovery on the way back, because 4 days after we get back, we're starting MAC play. So there's a lot that we're very, very mindful of. But again, I think we got the kind of group that really can stomach it.
All right, he is the only coach on the staff at the moment till Pete Lembo's squad knocks off Missouri that has beaten a top 10 team. Congratulations on that incredible moment, and I think it bodes for what this season is going to be for you and your squad. Congratulations on a good start to the year.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
All right, Shawn Burke, UB Women's Soccer head coach, joining us in the Bullseye.